Folks, there is a hidden history that has been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why we are on the trail of the Nephilim. We will be talking about incredible stonework found on the border of Bolivia and Peru, right near Lake Titicaca. It's called the Temple of Fertility. Of course, we have no idea what the builders of this temple actually called it, but we'll get into that and so much more after a word from our sponsor, My Patriot Supply. Friends, the time to prepare for bad times is during good times. If you know a big storm is coming, you prepare in advance. Same goes for our nation's future. Things seem calm right now, so it's the perfect time to prepare for the next big crisis. That's why we recommend stocking up on emergency food for My Patriot Supply. Folks, I'm not telling you to do anything that I already haven't done. We've got cans here in Oklahoma. We've got cans out in our studio in the Santa Monica Mountains. My Patriot Supply is America's #1 preparedness company with millions of happy, well-prepared customers. Their food lasts up to 25 years in storage. It's an insurance policy you can eat. When you need it, it will be there. And right now, you can save $50 on a 4-week emergency food kit. The kit provides breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, 11Zs, and snacks, totaling over 2,000 calories a day. Every family in America should have one of these, folks. Check it out. Please go to preparewithla.com. That's preparewithla.com. Save $50 on your 4-week food kit. That's preparewithla.com. Do it before the peanut butter hits the fan. Once again, preparewithla.com. So this is taken in August 2015. I think you'll find it interesting. We were there with Brian Forrester, of course, Irene, Brian's wife. Chase Klotsky was with us. Aaron Judkins was with us. A very interesting time. Very interesting time because we were, first of all, the altitude there is about 10, 12,000, 13,000 feet, depending on where you are. And so we flew from Lima, which is ground zero. It's basically sea level. And all of a sudden you get out of the plane and you're in Bolivia, La Paz, that's where we landed. And it's just like, whoa, what's going on here? There were some very interesting sidebars. I'll get into that in just a second. But that happened while in Bolivia, crossing over from Bolivia back into Peru. Okay, Chase, Aaron, and myself, all three of us just kind of walking like this. We had our backpacks on. All of a sudden, we're surrounded by federales, by the Bolivian police, who immediately usher us into the police station, and they sit Aaron and I down in the corridor. We're guarded. Welcome to Bolivia. And they take Chase into another room, and they begin to rummage through her backpack, and they also searched her. Not cool. Well, our guide, our driver, was an ex-Bolivian policeman. He comes storming into the building and talking in Spanish. Obviously, I couldn't understand what he was saying. But there was all this, and all of a sudden, we were escorted into the room, and Chase is like tucking in her shirt or her blouse. Very strange, and everybody's kind of laughing nervously. Ha 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 ha. So we all got out of there, and when we got out of there, Chase told us what had happened to her. So they're always looking for drugs. They're looking for the Americanos smuggling something. It's just not worth it. But this was the shakedown. And they looked in our packs, and there was absolutely nothing there. Photography equipment, hello, a roll of toilet paper, absolute must. And that was it. So anyway, we were let go. But you're going to see this film here, this little short clip, Temple of Fertility, basalt stone. Brian took us here. And most of the building is gone. In fact, there was standing water in the interior of the building. There are all these pillars around the floor of the building. And if I can get a shot of that, I'll try to show it to you tomorrow. But the bottom line is, no one knows who built this, or why, or even more importantly, what the building was actually called. It's all guesswork. They just, it looks like these are maybe phallus symbols, so we'll just call it the Temple of Fertility. So here's the clip. I'll run it right now. Do a little video here. We're at the temple, the fertility temple, so-called fertility temple. Again, Brian was telling me these are basalt stones, and I want you to take a look at some of the joinery here. Absolutely incredible. I mean, who gets up on a Monday morning and decides to join stones
with just multi-side polygonal shapes. It's absolutely incredible. And again, you'll see here no mortar anywhere. No mortar anywhere. And I'm going to slowly walk around.
And by the way, the use of no mortar is called ashlar construction. So these stones are fitted together so precisely that no mortar is needed. Of course, this place around Lake Titicaca, they do have earthquakes there, yet we see the building is still intact. Look at the lichens growing on the stones. Give you an idea just how old it is.
Here,
now check this out.
Give you a shot of the cornerstone. And look at this. Notice the way the stones are.
I mean, look at that. I've shown this to stonemasons, and they kind of laugh nervously, and they kind of, well, you know. Here's the bottom line. How many of you have ever tried to fit two pieces of wood together? Right? Sometimes they don't go, even with clamps. There's things happening. That's just two pieces of wood. What about making something in the round? It's even more difficult, right? So here we have polygonal shaped stones. Two different angles coming down on the stones. Well, how do they pick the stone up and then see if it fits? I gotta take a little more off that left side, Bob. Chip, 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 chip. How is it done? I mean, can you just get your head around this? We are looking at a technology here that is unknown to us today. End of story. This was not done with copper chisels. As Brian Forrester pointed out to us, copper chisels cannot cut basalt stone. There was a gentleman that sent me a clip years ago. I don't know what happened to it. I lost a lot of files in the fire. Who knows? So if you're watching this, please send it to me again. But he took a piece of basalt. He took a copper chisel. One hit, one strike. He went tink, and then he just turned it over and showed me. The copper chisel was totally dull. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And all the Inca stonemasons were master stonemasons. Nonsense. The Inca even stated that all these sites were here when we arrived here. Folks, I'll say it again. There is a hidden history. It's screaming at us. Something is going on. We are looking at technology that we don't understand. We're watching, looking, observing technology, running our hands on it. In my opinion, these are the fingerprints of the supernatural. This is as close as you can possibly get. Let's continue the tape.
Stone here, which is the same as another. Each stone is uniquely shaped.
Look at that.
And carved and set in place in a mortarless construction. Absolutely phenomenal. And some of the larger stones, like this one right here, obviously weighs a lot more than 2 or 3 tons.
Now, look, let's go back. I want to show you something here. Look at the platform which this thing rests on.
Is the same as another.
Right there. Look here at the bottom where, and you'll notice if you look closer here, these stones are jointed together again.
Each stone is
so this whole thing is erected on some sort of a level platform.
In a mortar.
And look at this stone. I mean, seriously, folks. Seriously. What drives me nuts about this is that archaeologists insist that and when you're there and you go to these sites and they have the docents who are giving you a tour guide, they tell the Inca were master stonemasons. No, they weren't. And we show the disparity between this type of ashlar construction, no mortar, and what I affectionately call Inca slop. Indigenous stones, head-sized boulders, just stacked with sloppy mortar. That's what it is. Later on in the colonial period when the Spanish get here, the stonework gets better, but it's just European stonework. It has nothing to do with this at all in any way, shape, or form. So we are looking at, in my opinion, a technology which has been completely lost to us, as I stated a few minutes ago. When you're there, and if I lead a tour into this area, which I've never done in this area, but we've been to Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo, and I remember telling the folks, touch the stones with your hands. You are touching the fingerprints of the supernatural. You are touching the vestiges of something supernatural, something that doesn't fit in with the official record. And the reason why the docents they all go to the same school, they're all, repeat the same talking points, Inca and Master Stonemasons. The reason for this is that it points to something else. It points to that hidden history. And modern day archaeologists, modern day anthropologists don't want to go there. Why? Because it rewrites history. Just like my work, our team's work, okay? Mondo Gonzalez, our lead archaeologist, Richard Shaw, who came down and photographed everything, Chase Klotsky, who was she tagged and bagged all the samples, 58 DNA samples, Rick Woodward, who told us about the placement of the foramen magnum. It was Rick Woodward, our anthropologist, team anthropologist, who discovered that, wait a minute, the foramen magnum is in a completely different area. And by the way, episode 6 of On the Trail gets into all that, where we've got surgeons and doctors and all sorts of medical professionals looking at these skulls and going, wait a minute, this is, quote, genetic, end of quotes. Folks, they don't like what we discovered. The powers that be don't like the fact that our DNA showed that these skulls were not from Peru, that the mitochondrial DNA showed a Middle Eastern / Baltic Sea area / Eastern European origin. Rewrites history. They don't like that. How many samples do we have to do? How many times do we have to go through this? And now, of course, the labs are afraid to test anything from Peruvian mummies. Why? Because they don't like the results. Just like the stonework here. It points to something that's not in the official narrative. It points to a dynamic which is not talked about in academic circles, in universities. If you're an anthropologist and you look at this and you say, I don't think the Inca built this, strike one. If you're an archaeologist and you say the same thing, strike two. You can't play in their sandbox. Moving right along, check it out. Notice the platform.
And some of the larger stones, like this one right here, obviously weighs a lot more than 2 or 3 tons.
So let me go back just a little bit. So when we look at these stones here, right, that weigh more than 3 tons, again, who's lifting the stones and putting them on top of the larger stones to see if they're fit? Do you realize how difficult it would be? If I were a millionaire, and I'm not, I would take the L.A. Marzulli Challenge. I would issue the L.A. Marzulli Challenge for once and for all, and the ridiculous, absolutely absurd paradigm which archaeology operates on. Okay, boys, Inca did this. Bring me your best Inca stonemasons right now. Descendants, bring me your best stonemasons. We'll give you modern day copper chisels. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to haul some of the basalt stones to a site. And then you guys can make a 20-foot wall. And we'll film it all. And we'll pay the workers a great wage, $1,000 a day, whatever it takes, to lure the best of the best of the best to come in here and show us how it's done. And when they fail miserably and they fall flat on their face, just like, let me tell you a quick story here. This was told to me by archaeologist Judd Burton years ago. So allegedly this Japanese film crew went to Egypt. Okay, let me get a slurp. Went to Egypt to show and to prove that the Egyptians built the pyramid. They built some of the pyramids, but certainly not the Great Pyramid, okay? So they go there, and the Egyptians take them to the quarry, and they take their chisels and saws, tink, 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 tink. They're not getting anywhere, folks. They're not getting anywhere. There are hundreds of thousands of limestone blocks which create the Great Pyramid. How is it done? So that doesn't work. They bring in the diamond saws, and they cut some blocks. But they've got to move the blocks now. So they try the roller log theory, and that's not working. Everything gets bogged down in the sand. So they bring in a truck with a crane, and they hoist the stone onto the back of a flatbed truck. Now they have a replica of one of the boats that allegedly, moved all the stones on the Nile, blah, 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 okay? And they put the stone on the papyrus ship, and it sinks to the bottom. The Egyptians completely freak out. They get rid of a Japanese film crew, but here's the catch, folks. In the king's chamber, maybe I'll show you this tomorrow if John Adam will remind me. I'll dig up some pictures. In the king's chamber, there are stones that make up the roof. They are the size of railroad cars, and I'll show you that tomorrow. Scout's honor, okay? They weigh a lot. Tons and tons a lot of tonnage there. They came from the Aswan quarry. They're granite, first of all. How was that carved? And then how were they shipped down the Nile to the Great Pyramid? You tell me. All of this screams at us, for those of us who have eyes to see and are not blinded by the official paradigm. I'll say it again because I say it every single show. There is a hidden history that has been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why we are on the trail. Here we go, folks. Get all 7. Go to Uscreen. Go to streaming.lamarzulli.net. Streaming.lamarzulli.net. What are you waiting for? There is so much information in these films. I will be working on number 8 this year as we speak. We're back in the saddle. We have occupancy in the house in California. If you want to know more about that, go to pp&s Report Uncensored today, because we'll be talking about the new mandate in California, but I can't say anything about that here. So let's get into our UFO report. This came from a fan of the show. If you have a UFO report, if you've been taken, if you've been abducted, if you have a sighting, if you saw grays in your room, shoot me an email. la@lamarzulli.net, la@lamarzulli.net. Classic UFO in the gun sight of an F-18, and here we go. So here's the shot in Ogden, Utah. Snowy day. You can see something right here that's very, very light. Let me blow this up. Whoa, what are we looking at here? And there's another close-up of it. You'll see the horizontal, nearly horizontal streak there. And then all these orbs all around it. There was actually a sighting in Mexico that was very similar to this. I was on Jim Baker's show yesterday, and I got to tell you, we had some moments live on camera, on stage, where our eyes locked. And all I can tell you was agape love, because that's what it was. He was railroaded, in my opinion. I'm not going to get into that here, but what happened to him shouldn't happen to any American. Okay? And by the way, he was acquitted. And of course, the media doesn't cover that, do they? But he suffered a stroke, was incapacitated for a year. He's back. I did 2 one-hour shows. I'll be alerting you as to when they air. Folks, we are also thinking about going on Jim Baker's network. If any of you want to help sponsor that, and I'm not asking for $20 bills here, okay? And I think we're going to move on to it anyway. We're kind of praying about it. But I think it costs $2,500 a month. If any of you have big checkbooks and would like to sponsor the show, that would really be cool. If you have a product that you'd like to sell, then maybe we can work something out. You could sponsor the show and we'll advertise your product. So, but you can look at this. Close encounters of the first kind. There seems to be that horizontal light there. Could that be a ship? It certainly could be, because sometimes they appear that way. Over Mexico, years ago, Jaime Maussan gave us the footage of this. Hundreds of orbs just flying across the sky, recorded in 3 different locations by hundreds of witnesses. Folks, something is going on here. And I truly believe we're in the window of time where we may have full disclosure sooner than later. We talked about this last week, that NASA, never a straight answer, has hired 20 theologians to figure out how to prepare the masses, those nasty Christians, right? In case ET shows up. What are they going to say? How's this going to work? Remember, Obama, out of all the things he could say about disclosure, warned us that there'll be new religions once ET shows up. I'm not making this stuff up, folks. So if you've got a sighting, please send it to me at la@lamarzulli.net, la@lamarzulli.net. It's right there on the screen. If you'd like to sponsor our show on Jim Baker's network, shoot me an email. Let's talk. la@lamarzulli.net. If not, that's cool. We're going to pray about it, but I'm pretty sure we're going to pull the trigger on it this year. Anyway, folks, our free film, UFO Disclosure, right here on YouTube. Click the text box below. Underneath our sponsor, right, they have the first line. Right underneath that, you'll see free UFO film. And there's the link. If you can't find it, I can't help you out, all right? It's right there in the text box. Watch it. Watch it. It's absolutely a must-see. We've got about 200,000 views on this on between YouTube and Prophecy Watchers. Check it out. Go to right here on YouTube. If you're here on YouTube, you can watch it for free. Anyway, folks, that's all the time I have for. Remember to check out Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural Report Uncensored by going to Rumble, Roku, and Bitchute. Links are once again in that text box. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, we'll see you on the air or in the air.
I've seen a UFO.
I've seen a UFO.
And I saw a UFO.
A UFO.